So a little different than what I usually do. I've told my story a few times. I'll briefly get into that at the beginning. I've gone through a bunch of questions and talked to you like you're employees of a group. Today I want to tell the story of the untold story of the individual out there who is going through, just the average person, the world they're going through in the healthcare world we live in nowadays. I thought Paul Robertson gave a fantastic presentation last week, and the reason is because he talked about, spent some time talking about the difference between a sales professional, salesman, and being a consultant. And I've always prided myself on being a consultant rather than a salesperson. I understand that you can sit there and say, well, everybody's in sales. I'm not afraid to say that I sell for a living, but I'm going to tell you this, I don't think anybody in this room needs me to sell you on reality. Do we? Do I need to sell you on the fact that when you get sick or hurt, it's going to cost more rather than less? And unless you do something about it, you're likely to have less? But do I have to sell you on the idea that health insurance is costing more and covering less every year? Or are we familiar with that fact?
Okay.
Right? I talk about it every week. The landscape is changing, but every year it changes so that deductibles seem to go up, co-pays seem to go up, out-of-pocket medical expenses go up. Okay, so what I had a decision to make. I could either be a salesperson or I could be a consultant. I think early on I tried to sell, even though it wasn't really my nature. And then I realized that being an educator is really all people are looking for. They're looking for someone to help them make decisions that they don't know anything about. They're looking for someone to help them find what makes sense for them and fits their budget. So when it comes to talking about the programs that I help people understand on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, those are my two goals. Help people find plans that make sense for them and fit their budget. Okay? I didn't think I could sell, but apparently I can because I'm getting married next week. And clearly there were plenty of reasons why she could have said no, and she didn't. Probably some good ones. So maybe I can sell, but that's not what I look to do on a daily basis. So most of you know I got into this business because back in 2010 my mother was diagnosed with cancer. She went through 7 weeks of radiation treatment, 33 treatments over a 7-week period of time, 5 days a week. She had 2 surgeries. She spent a couple days in the hospital. And I can tell you that although that all sounds bad, and it was not anything out of the ordinary when it comes to cancer treatment. There are a lot of people who spend more time in the hospital, receive chemotherapy, receive more radiation treatments than she did, have more surgeries than she did, and yet I can tell you that in 2018, almost 8 years later, my parents are still struggling with some of the financial effects of that. Okay? Did they lose their home? No. Did they file for bankruptcy? No. But they tapped their retirement, they drained their savings, they maxed credit cards, and as a result, my parents are probably going to retire a couple of years later than they intended to. So even that is something that people tend not to think about, that those are possibilities that can happen. So I want to talk a little bit about who the average individual is. Okay? I don't want to talk about extreme scenarios. I don't want to talk about what if the worst case scenario happens. I want to talk about what does the average person face in the healthcare world we live in. So over 70% of the businesses in the United States don't offer disability over and above the state mandated. Some of the states don't mandate it, but here in New York State, it's mandated state disability. Who can tell me what it is that pays?
$168.
$170 a week. Close enough. I'll give you a dozen.
Right down there.
State arm.
So $170 a week less taxes comes out to around $550 a month. You think most people can live on that? No. Okay, we've talked about that ad nauseam. We're not going to talk about that, significantly today. But that's more than 70% of the businesses don't offer short-term disability over and above the state minimum. And the main reason is most of them don't know that they can and that it costs them nothing to do it. And the ones who do know that that's the case believe their employees wouldn't want it or wouldn't need it. They believe it's not something that's important. The part that's most interesting to me is there's a lot of construction companies, automotive, collision, manufacturing, machine shops, the kinds of work that gets people hurt on a regular basis that are not making these programs available?
5 minutes.
Thank you. Anyone have any idea what the average deductible is for an individual on their health insurance plan in the state of New York?
$4,000.
4,000, okay. Any other ideas?
7.
Okay. It's actually 3 for an individual, 2,500 to 3,000 for an individual and 5,000 for a family. Okay, so we're talking about the numbers that 10 years ago no one believed would be possible, and they continue to go up every year. So for an average individual, let's say we're talking about an individual, they have a health plan that has a $3,000 individual deductible. They don't have disability insurance. What's an average income? Let's say here. I can give you these numbers, but someone just give me. What are we doing?
50?
You want to do 50,000? Anyone want to argue? Okay, 50,000? Okay. I mean, I've had a different number, but we'll use what you guys think is normal. So if we go $50,000, and they pay taxes on that, right?
Yeah.
I'll turn this around because I know you sighted folks love visuals. So, times 0.75, average tax bracket is 25%. Anyone want to argue that? No? Okay. So we're talking $37,500 after they pay the taxes. Okay. Then if I divide that by 12, we're talking $3,125. So $3,100 essentially is what this person takes home on a monthly basis. Everyone with me so far?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if they're on New York State disability, they're going to get about how much a month? $550. So let's go with $600 just to be generous. I don't want to be accused of exaggerating. So we're talking about essentially $2,500 per month is what their gap is each month if they're on New York State disability. $2,525. $2,500 per month is their gap based on the numbers you're giving me. I would have made probably the scenario a little bit better and said they make $45,000, but the bottom line is the numbers don't matter. What matters is, in terms of which numbers we use, what matters is a $2,500 gap to somebody earning $50,000 a year. Let's say, would anyone argue that 2 months off of work for illness or injury and 2 days in the hospital is average? It wouldn't be, that would be outrageous. That would be a normal scenario if somebody gets, fairly sick or fairly hurt.
Sure.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
We can argue that. 25, what's that?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, thank you. $2,500 per month for 2 months out of work. They're now short $5,000. They spend 2 days in the hospital. I'll tell you for time's sake, the average expense for a day in the hospital in New York State is $2,040. So this person on the high deductible plan, we know their minimum is $3,000. So they're at least $3,000 in out-of-pocket expenses, plus their co-insurance is probably closer to $3,500, and they're already short $5,000 because they didn't have disability insurance. Is this person in trouble?
Yeah.
And this is not an outrageous scenario. The person got cancer, they're in the hospital 6 weeks. We're talking about 2 days in the hospital, 2 months of lost income. And this is the situation that the average American or the average person in Western New York faces if they work for a small or medium-sized business that doesn't make disability available and doesn't have hospital, cancer, or accident policies available to them through a company like Aflac. I'm not here to sell you on the idea that you should go around and tell all your friends to talk to me so I can sell them insurance. But what I am saying is, if there's somebody you care about out there, and they work for a business where you know the business owner, or you yourself are a business owner, or you know a business owner who would like to do right by their employees, this costs them nothing to make it available. And right now, the only thing protecting someone from this scenario we're talking about is probably a health insurance plan with a $3,000 to $5,000 deductible and $170 a week less taxes from New York State disability. Good referral for me is anybody who cares about their employees, who wants to make something available to help attract and retain good employees at no cost to them, and I can save them some payroll tax dollars in the process. What could be better than that? That's a real hard sell. Yet everyone will say, I'm not interested, we're all set. So if you know somebody, particularly in the places where there's blue collar work, it doesn't really matter. It could be any business, but particularly if we're looking at blue-collar work, construction, manufacturing, machine shop, automotive, collision, if they don't have disability insurance in place, I mean, I don't know, I don't care if it's through me or through somebody, somebody needs to talk to them about protecting their income, because this average individual we just talked about is one illness or injury away from a financial disaster. And I'm not trying to spread doom and gloom, I'm just saying that I can help these people, and I'm not doing this, once again, you know, as Paul said, we can all sell, but the bottom line is, it's about what makes a difference. And that's why I'm here. So if you know that person, I'd really like an introduction so that I can make a difference for them if God forbid something like this happens to them. Patrick Engasser, Employee Benefits Consultant with